Hello, I'm Libby Hill, and I want to look at the difference between PDA and ODD. This is a really important point, but there's not very much out there. So I know when I was first wanting answers and first wanting to explain the difference, I had to print out an article from Steph Curtis's blog, Steph's Two Girls, because that was the best that I'd come across at that particular point in time. So why do we need to know the difference between PDA and ODD? So children with extreme avoidance or opposition are often very misunderstood, and misdiagnosis can lead to inappropriate support strategies. So let's clarify the difference between pathological demand avoidance, PDA, and oppositional defiant disorder, ODD. So ODD is in the diagnostic manuals. So for instance, the DSM-5. And what it says is that the ODD behavior includes a persistent pattern of angry, argumentative, and defiant behavior directed at authority figures. And behaviors are intentional and confrontational. It also says that it presents as deliberate defiance of rules, blaming others for mistakes, and spitefulness or vindictiveness. Pathological demand avoidance, on the other hand, is considered a profile of autism, so not a separate diagnosis, certainly not as yet. Although it's not in there, it's recognized by many, many clinicians here and in America and Australia. So the key features of PDA are an anxiety-driven need to avoid everyday demands, including their own demands. The avoidance can be extreme. It could be strategic. It will always have a social component to the demand avoidance, which can look manipulative. Often they have a surface sociability, so they appear social, but they lack depth in the understanding. And common traits involve difficulty with everyday demands, not just authority-based ones. There might be the use of role play, distraction, negotiation to avoid tasks. There may well be sudden mood changes. There may be obsessive behavior, but that usually involves people rather than things. What we need to look at is the motivation behind the behavior, because it's the motivation that is key. It's the motivation that matters. So with ODD, the behavior is usually willful opposition to rules or expectations, especially from authority figures. Whereas PDA, the behavior is a response to anxiety and a need for control. The child is not being defiant for defiance sake. If we think of it like this, so a child with ODD says, "You can't make me." A child with PDA says, "I have to avoid this or I'll panic." How they feel is really important. So with ODD, the child often feels angry or resentful, and their emotions are externalized. So they will blame others, they will lash out. With PDA, the child often feels anxious and overwhelmed, and their emotions are linked to a perceived threat to autonomy or identity. So I've just put a little chart together about the behavioral clues that we could look at. So there may be opposition in both, but with ODD, it will be reactive and angry. With PDA, strategic and anxious. Who are they like this with? ODD will be authority figures. With PDA, it will be anyone and everyone. What's the motivation? So ODD, defiance, frustration. With PDA, anxiety and a fear of a loss of control. Social skills. ODD, they may be poor, or they may be described as hostile, whereas PDA may appear superficially social. The avoidance will be confrontational in ODD, but indirect, creative, avoidant in PDA. We need to know because the approaches differ. So with ODD, they need clear boundaries, consistent consequences, and behavioral interventions may indeed help. With PDA, traditional behavior strategies can almost certainly, they will backfire. They need a low demand, a collaborative, a flexible approach. And the emphasis on PDA here needs to be reducing the anxiety, offering choices. Misdiagnosis is very common. So I tend to see an ODD diagnosis and then it becomes a PDA diagnosis. But PDA is often as misunderstood as ODD. And it's not currently a standalone diagnostic label. So at the moment, you have to have an autism diagnosis first. That may be changing. Children with PDA can be punished for behaviours that are actually anxiety responses. We don't punish a child for panicking, do we? We help them, we support them. And getting it wrong can lead to escalation, to school refusal and mental health difficulties. The differences: ODD is oppositional by nature. PDA is avoidant by necessity, is anxiety driven. So understanding the child's internal experience is key. Behavior is communication, but we need to understand why it's happening to provide the right support. Thank you for listening.